welcome to African News on VOP TV. I am Fina Okechukwu. 21 African countries are expected to hold elections in 2024, according to the African Union's AU calendar. The first two polls in Comoros and Senegal, each held the last two AU chairships, have been ruined by irregularities. Voter apathy characterized the presidential and island assemblies election in Comoros, where President Aziz Assoumani is victor based on a partly 16.3% voter turnout, was disagreed by the opposition, who alleged ballot rigging. In Senegal, President Macky Sall's domination of the electoral process and the postponement of the polls initially scheduled for February were met with a protest. Although the Constitutional Council has overturned the postponement and elections are now set for 24th of March 2024, Sall's tampering with the process jeopardized the credibility of the poll and increased the likelihood of electoral violence. Both instances suggest that AU member states don't respect the principles and norms of organization. They should be setting a better electoral example. Away from that, Senegal's presidential candidates commenced their elections campaign on Saturday after weeks of violent protests in the African country due to a delayed vote. The 19 approved contenders have less time to rally supporters before the March 24th election, which is expected to be the most hotly contested race since Senegal gained independence over 6 decades ago. Khalifa Sall, former mayor of Dakar and four-time candidate, organized a marching caravan through the capital for his campaign launch. Front runners include Amadou Ba, former prime minister and ruling party choice, and imprisoned Bassirou Diomaye Faye, who gained popularity as chief of the dissolved PASTEF party. Despite being behind bars for nearly a year following charges against him being dropped by President Macky Sall's decree exonerating political prisoners ahead of election, he has stepped in for opposition leader Ousmane Sonko, who is also detained and barred from running. Anta Babacar Ngom is the only female candidate and has Sedima, one of the Senegal's biggest food companies. The recent violent protests have raised concern about democratic stability in West Africa, where coups are common. President Macky Sall's postponement of February's election just weeks before it was scheduled because he was prevented from running due to term limits. This announcement caused chaos as opposition groups filled streets with protest. The Constitutional Council rejected his postponement and ordered that a new date be set immediately. Government spokesman Abdul Karim Fonfa announced March 24th as a new date earlier this week, although ruling party candidate Amadou Ba hasn't yet launched his campaign. The President of India, Draupadi Murmu, has arrived Mauritius in early hours of today on a 3-day visit, officials said. In a special gesture, the Prime Minister of Mauritius, Pravind Jugnauth, welcomed President Murmu at the airport with full honor. As a significant highlight of the achievement, President Murmu will be the chief guest at the National Day celebration of Mauritius, marking a new milestone in the long-standing friendship between the two countries. As the 6th Indian president to grace the Mauritius National Day, she will also be inaugurating 14 Indian-assisted projects with Prime Minister Jugnauth. Chadian junta appointed Prime Minister Success Masra has announced he will run for the presidency a week after the leader of junta, interim President Mahamat Deby, announced his own candidacy. Mr. Masra, a former opposition leader, signed a reconciliation deal with Deby after his return from exile before he was appointed Prime Minister in January. He told supporters at a rally on Sunday that he was seeking to top seat so as to unite the people and heal hearts. The opposition have criticized the move, saying it is a ploy to give the appearance of pluralism to an election which Deby is certain to win. Deby's main rival, opposition leader Yaya Dillo, was killed in a shootout with security forces on the 28th of February. The government had blamed him for a deadly attack on the country's security agency, which he denied. Recall that Deby took over as Chad's leader after his father was killed by rebels after 3 decades in power. Still in Chad, the presidential election in May and June assured the return of constitutional rule to Chad, 3 years after military authorities seized power in a coup led by Deby. However, Dilo's killing during a shootout at his party's headquarters last week has thrown a dark shadow over the polls. While the junta says Dilo fomented an attack against Chadians' main security agencies, his Socialist Party Without Borders (BSF) party maintained that he was murdered. An operation against the illegal manufacture, sale and distribution of illicit alcohol in Belgorod, Kenya, has resulted in closure of 20 bars and 2 pharmacies. Belgorod Deputy County Commissioner Michael Olortua reported that the operation will continue until they can guarantee the safety of alcoholic products being distributed in the area. The operation, which happened on Sunday night, has seen the closure of 20 bars and the arrest of more than 20 suspects, said Olotua. While cautioning those running unlicensed alcohol businesses, he noted that the authorities will not allow the distribution of the products, saying that apart from the bars, they had uncovered 2 pharmacies that were being illegally operated at Capsoit and shut them down in the process. He then warned security officers aiding and abetting the distribution and consumption of toxic substances, leading to loss of lives, saying that they will not be transferred to other jurisdictions and they will severely be punished. Authorities in Uganda have reportedly halted the recent ban on meat sale in the capital, Kampala, amid an outbreak of foot and mouth disease. Health officials had last week imposed a ban and ordered the closure of all slaughter places to curb the spread of the outbreak. But Minister of Kampala City and Metropolitan Affairs, Misa Kabanda, on Sunday told newsmen that the ban had been halted as the government continued to assess the impact of the disease in the capital. Ms. Kambada, however, urged people to ensure that animals were tested before being slaughtered. Traders had opposed the ban and accused the government of failing to prevent the disease from spreading. Foot and mouth disease has been reported in 40 districts across the country, according to the local media. You're watching the African News on VOP TV. More stories after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to African News. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa has criticized the country's main opposition Democratic Alliance, DA party, after it requested the US and European countries to monitor the upcoming elections. The party requested in a letter sent last week to US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken and some European Foreign Affairs Minister. Ramaphosa says the DA's letter to the United States government is quite disingenuous and it is almost trying to sell the country to other power in the world. The ruling African National Congress ANC party also slammed the DA for the letter on Saturday, accusing the opposition party of offering South Africa's sovereignty on a silver platter. South Africa's elections are planned for 29th of May 2024. Polls by research firm suggest that ANC's share of the vote could fall below 50% for the first time since it came to power in 1994, fueled by widespread dissatisfaction with the state of the economy, public service, and corruption. The Kingdom of Eswatini has firmly denied reports suggesting it was offering nationality to citizens from Southern Africa to address a shortage of men within the country. The rebuttal comes in response to a widely circulated fake letter purportedly uttered by King Maswati III, expressing concern about the scarcity of men within the kingdom. According to the fabricated letter, the king purportedly promised to facilitate the marriage of willing men from Southern Africa, along with providing them with free housing as presents. The identity of the individuals or group behind the creation of the fake letter remain unclear. Nevertheless, the dissemination of the false information has sparked excitement among some social media users from Southern Africa. Eswatini, recognized as Africa's last absolute monarchy, boasts a population of approximately 1.2 million people. The leaders of Libya's two rival governments have agreed to form a single unified government, signaling progress in ending a political stalemate that has persisted for more than a decade. In a joint statement Sunday, the leaders said they had agreed on the necessity of forming a new unified government that will supervise long-delayed elections and unify sovereign positions. The talks were held in Egypt's capital, Cairo, and were led by the Arab League Secretary General, Ahmed Abdul Gahid. The negotiation involved the president of Libyan Presidential Council and the head of the High State Council, both based in Tripoli, as well as the Speaker of the House of Representatives in the rival Benghazi-based administration. Libya began to fracture after the fall of long-serving ruler Colonel Muammar Gaddafi in 2011. The country is split between the internationally recognized government in the west, led by interim Prime Minister Abdulhamid Dbeibah in Tripoli, and an administration in the east backed by the military strongman Khalifa Haftar in Benghazi. Meanwhile, Japan has signed an agreement with the World Health Organization (WHO) Sunday to provide funds for critical medical aid to Egyptian hospitals that treat injured people from the Gaza Strip. Japanese ambassador to Cairo, Oka Hiroshi, said that the support, estimated at $8 million, is to provide crucial medical supplies. Egyptian Minister of International Cooperation, Reina Al-Mashat, commended the action of the Japanese government. Hannah Baki, WHO Regional Director of Eastern Mediterranean, who witnessed the signing ceremony, said that WHO life-saving efforts are hampered by access restrictions, and she thanked Japan's effort to help those affected in Gaza, noting that Israel's war on Gaza has taken many hospitals in the Strip out of service. Still, in Gaza on Sunday, Japan entered into an agreement with the World Health Organization to contribute funds toward critical medical aid for Egyptian hospitals that provides care to injured individuals from the Gaza Strip. Japan Ambassador to Cairo, Oka Hiroshi, stated that the support amounted to approximately $8 million will be utilized to furnish essential medical supplies. And Egyptian Minister of International Cooperation, Reina Al-Masat, expressed admiration for the action taken by the Japanese government. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization has issued an appeal requesting cessation of attack on health facilities in the area. Away from that story, Sudanese anti-coup protesters take part in ongoing demonstration against the military rule in Khartoum, Sudan, Monday, March 14, 2022. Amid escalating tension in Sudan, General Yas Al-Ta, representing the country's military, has delivered a resolute stance. There will be no ceasefire during the forthcoming Islamic holy month of Ramadan unless certain conditions are met. This declaration underscores the entrenched conflict between Sudanese armed forces and the paramilitary Rapid Support Force, RSF, revealing the complexity of the nation's political landscape. At the heart of the matter lies a crucial demand for the military. The RSF must withdraw from civilian and public spaces, a condition predicted on a commitment forged during mediated talks in Jeddah last May. This stipulation, deemed essential by Al-Atta, epitomized the military's determination to uphold previously established agreements and restore order in the strife-torn nation. The conflict between the army and the RSF erupted in mid-April 2023, sparked by disagreements over the trajectory of Sudan's transition to civilian rule. Since then, the fighting has exacted a heavy toll on the country, leaving swathes of land ravaged, communities displaced, and infrastructures decimated. While the RSF initially gained ground, recent reports suggest a potential shift in momentum, with the army making strategic advancements, particularly in the regions like Omdurman. You're watching the African News on VOP TV. More stories in business and sports after the break. Welcome back. Senegal's opposition coalition, led by firebrand Ousmane Sonko, unveils its presidential campaign platform for ambitious promises, including the creation of a new national currency and the renegotiation of mining and energy contracts with Bassirou Diomaye Faye as their candidate. The coalition aimed to challenge the status quo and address economic inequalities in Senegal. Faye's candidacy is considered formidable among the 19 contenders for the upcoming March 24th presidential election, especially given Sonko's widespread popularity, particularly among the youth. The coalition's platform outlines plans for significant governance reform, such as the creation of a vice presidential route and abolition of the prime minister's position. Additionally, proposed tax and custom reforms, along with plans to introduce a national currency and renegotiate key contracts, signal a potential shift in Senegal's economic landscape. These proposals could have implications not only for Senegal's domestic policies, but also for regional economic alliance and investors eyeing the country's emerging oil sector. If successful, the coalition's agenda could reshape Senegal's economic trajectory and assert the country's sovereignty over key sectors. However, the proposal also raised questions about their feasibility and potential impact on existing agreements and partnership. As Senegal prepares for a pivotal presidential election, the promises made by the opposition coalition have stirred anticipation and debate, underscoring the importance of economic policies in shaping the nation's future. Now in Egypt. Egypt's urban consumer price inflation surged to 37.7% in February, driven primarily by rising food and beverage prices. According to data from statistics agency CAPMAS, the sharp increase comes ahead of expectation and precedes the impact of last week's currency devaluation, which saw the Egyptian pound depreciate significantly against the dollar. Analysts had anticipated a slower inflation rate, highlighting the unpredictability of Egypt's economic landscape. Month-on-month prices rose by 11.4% in February, with food prices experiencing a particularly steep increase of 15.9% core inflation, which excludes fuel and volatile food items. Also rose to 35.1%, indicating broader price pressures across various sectors of the economy. The inflationary surge poses challenges for policymakers as they navigate efforts to stabilize prices and mitigate the impact on households. The sharp uptick in inflation underscores the complexities facing Egypt's economy and the need for proactive measures to address inflationary pressures. As the government grapples with economic challenges exacerbated by internal factors such as global commodities prices and currency fluctuations, ensuring macroeconomic stability remains a top priority. With inflationary pressures mounting, policymakers face the delicate task of balancing economic growth objectives with the need to contain price volatility and safeguard consumer purchasing power. After a trial start to the 13th African Games, males football competition in Accra, anticipation rises for the upcoming Group B clashes as Senegal gear up to take on Uganda, while Nigeria seeks redemption against South Sudan. Following Uganda's stunning upset over Nigeria and Senegal's hard-fought victory against South Sudan, both teams are bracing for another intense showdown. Meanwhile, Nigeria, led by coach Ladan Bosso, remain undeterred despite their initial defeat. Bosso emphasizes the importance of learning from past matches. Still in sports, the Cameroonian Federation has taken a decisive stance against age fraud, suspending 62 players, including Wilfred Nathan Douala, the midfielder from Victoria United, who was part of the last AFCON selection and claimed to be 17 years old. The suspension were implemented due to concerns of double identity, with these players being suspected of concealing their true age. The Ugandan under-20 men's national team is set to face Senegal at the ongoing African Games in Accra, Ghana, after a positive start to their campaign with 2-1 victory over Nigeria. Head coach Mole Baikwaso expressed confidence in his players and commended their performance against Nigeria, aiming for a similar display against Senegal. The team, led by goals from Arafat Usman Kiza and Ivan Irinbazi, is focused on securing a win that could propel them to the semi-finals. A successful outcome would mark the Hippos' first semi-final appearance at the game since 1999 in South Africa. That is it on African News on VOP TV. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel on YouTube at Voice of the People TV and on other social media platforms at VOP TV Live. Join our subsequent bulletins at 4 and 9 p.m. I am Fina Okechukwu. Thanks for watching.